I'm bigcal and welcome to my world. Today I'm taking a quick look at the Midway Arcade Treasures Collections. Now there were 3 of these released for the Xbox, PlayStation 2, I think the GameCube as well, I don't know if they got all 3, and some versions for the PSP as well. I'm going to be taking a look at the Xbox versions because those are the ones that I own. I didn't grow up during the arcade days. I was born in 1988. So even in the mid-90s when arcades were still around, I never played any of them. So it's nice to be able to buy packs like this, not just from Midway. We can go back and play old arcade games. The question is, are any of them any good? So we'll start off with taking a look at Midway Arcade Treasures number 1. Joust. So this is a very odd game. You appear to be riding on an ostrich and you run and fly at other people, and sometimes you hit them and sometimes they hit you. Most of the time I found myself speeding around uncontrollably and smashing into platforms. Not a good game. There's also the sequel here, Joust 2, and it's pretty much the exact same game aside from a few different sprites. And it's still awful. Rampart. A strategy game of sorts. Choose where to build a small base, place cannons inside it before the time runs out, and then aim and fire at enemy ships. Once the round is over, repair your wall using Tetris-like block shapes, add the cannons back in and shoot at more ships. At first it seemed cool, but after a while doing the exact same thing just on slightly different maps, I got bored. Spy Hunter. A super fun classic arcade game that is a worthy addition on this collection. It took me a little while to get used to how everything controls, but once I did I started having a ton of fun. Drive along, shoot everything you see, upgrade your arsenal by carefully driving into the back of weapon vans as they appear. Nice visuals for the time and great music. One of my favourites on this collection for sure. Road Blasters. Similar to Spy Hunter, only with better visuals that make it seem more like a racing game from the time rather than the overhead view that Spy Hunter gave us. One major difference though is that you need to collect fuel in order to make it through to the end of each course. This was kind of okay, but I much prefer Spy Hunter. Blaster. A first-person space shoot-em-up that reminds me of Star Fox. It's okay, but I got real tired real quick of the sound effect the game makes when you shoot. And since you do a lot of shooting, you hear this noise a lot. Super Sprint. A fun racing game similar to the RC Pro-Am game that will be released on home consoles a year later. Once you get used to the controls, it's an addictive little game with some fun tracks. Defender 1 and 2. The classic side-scrolling shoot-em-up and its sequel are both in this collection, and while they are both essentially the same game for the most part, they are still fun even for someone like me who isn't typically into these games. But like Blaster, that damn sound effect for shooting makes my ears bleed after a while. Paperboy. Everybody knows about Paperboy, and no doubt most of you out there have played it. Can't say I'm a fan of this version of it though. I was struggling to get anywhere into the game due to constantly getting hit by cars and just not being able to actually deliver any papers. Giving the NES version over this any day. Tubing. Oh god, this game. I've seen videos of it before and it looked like fun, so when I saw that it was on this collection I was kind of excited. And then I started playing it. One analog stick for one hand and one for the other seems like a reasonable way of controlling the game. Certainly over using one button for each hand. But oh boy is it just awful. Things never seem to work out the way I wanted to do with the analog sticks, and I could never remember which button was for which hand and which direction, so in the end I was floating around the river like a retard. Vindicators. This is all the footage I recorded of me playing the game. And this is the reason why. The controls are 10 times worse than tubing. Smash TV. Oh yeah, this is what it's all about. I recently got this on the Super Nintendo and I've had a ton of fun playing it, and I didn't even know that I already owned it on this collection. Of course I'm more likely to play the SNES version of this one, but for those of you who don't own a SNES anymore or don't have a copy of the game, buying this collection is likely cheaper than buying the cartridge. Gauntlet. I was expecting so much from this game. I thought it would be another cool overhead shooter game like Smash TV, only with axes and magic for weapons, and ghosts and other monsters and enemies. Instead, it's dull as hell with incredibly mediocre action. Very disappointing. So those are, in my opinion, some of the more noteworthy games on this collection, for good or bad reasons. So let's take a quick look at the rest of the games in this collection in a quick video game montage. So those are all the games available in this first collection. Overall, it's not that great. There aren't really that many games that I like in it. However, you do get Super Sprint, Smash TV and Spy Hunter, which are all terrifically fun games. And honestly, given the price that you can get this collection for these days, it's well worth it just for those games alone. So we shall move on now to the second in this collection series, Midway Arcade Treasures number 2. This one was the first that I owned, and I've had it since, well, I've had it for quite a long time. These two I picked up more recently, mainly for this video, but I've had this one since back in the day when I originally was playing my original Xbox. So let's take a look and see what games are featured in this collection. APB, an overhead car game where you play as a cop trying to earn cash by giving out tickets to anyone breaking the law. You drive along, then when a car is in range, turn on the sirens and pull them over to give them a ticket. You have a specific cash quota to meet every day, so you've got to make sure you pull over as many people as possible. Not the most exciting or ambitious game, but certainly fun in short bursts. Championship Sprint. Remember Super Sprint on the first collection? Well, this is essentially the same thing but with some new tracks. So it's still fun and you get some different tracks to play. Although I don't really understand why this wasn't just included on the first collection to go with Super Sprint. Gauntlet 2. It's just like Gauntlet 1, only more fun. So, just kidding, it's as dull as ever. Hard Driving. Look at those awesome 3D graphics. By today's standards it's terrible, but I'm sure it looked great at the time. Maybe. The only things that I took away from this game were that my ears bleed any time you turned, no matter how slight. The fact that you need to actually start the car's engine at the beginning of the game, which I found to be quite unique. And then the replay of crashes that look both cool and terrible. Mortal Kombat 2 and 3. The classic arcade fighting games. that was apparently a ton better when ported over to consoles, if this is anything to go by. Now, I'm far from being a great Mortal Kombat player, but holy crap, it's like these versions of the game were designed for the sole reason of making me look like I'm the worst fighting game player on the earth. Both of them are just terrible in their own ways. It's been a while since I had the chance to play a console version of either game, but I'm assuming the arcade versions both looked and sounded better, which is probably the only thing that makes them better than their console versions. Narc. It's like Streets of Rage, only have a gun. And so does everyone else, making it damn near impossible to avoid getting hit on a regular basis. Oh, and yeah, some sort of law enforcement officers who can arrest people when they surrender, but I'm too busy pressing the fire button to notice that they're surrendering, and I just end up shooting them. This has the potential to be a super fun side-scrolling shoot-em-up game in the style of a side-scrolling beat-em-up game, but with guns. However, the insane amount of projectiles constantly being fired at you kind of takes away from the fun. Pit Fighter. This game was no doubt added onto the collection by popular demand. Yeah, I've only ever seen reviews of this online rather than play it, and let me tell you, all of those reviews are not exaggerating. It really is that bad. Primal Rage. A fighting game with dinosaurs? How is this not the greatest thing ever? Oh yeah, awful controls and gameplay. That's how. Some things are better left to the imagination. Spy Hunter 2. Oh wow, was I excited when I was playing through this and realised Spy Hunter 2 was on here. The first game, or the first collection, is a whole lot of fun, and given that more sequels to games on these collections have essentially been the same thing, I was hyped for more awesome Spy Hunter action. Boy was I disappointed. That awesome soundtrack? Gone. There isn't any music anymore. The game is also less visually appealing by being more of a racing game view than anything else. And the controls really suck too. I kept finding myself forgetting what the hell I needed to do to change gear to go faster. Either do it automatically or just give me a basic turbo button. This isn't a realistic style car game, you know, it's Spy Hunter. What an awful disappointment, made even worse by the fact that you only get to see half the screen while playing. Total Carnage. Before I started getting into retro gaming, I specifically bought this collection of arcade games for this game alone. I used to play it when I was at school on the Sega Mega Drive, so being able to own it on the Xbox back in the day was awesome. One of my favourite shooters of this style and the perfect addition to the collection, with the first one having Smash TV and the second one having this. Zybots. A third-person Doom-style shooter with that old-school 3D look that is usually pretty awful, but is surprisingly good here. I wasn't expecting much from this game at all, but I ended up playing through 4 levels while recording the footage for this as I was having so much fun. Every level has a bunch of different enemies, and the further into the game you get, the more maze-like the levels are as you try to find the exit. Luckily you do have a map on screen to make things a little easier, so the maze aspect isn't so much about finding your way around as it is helping you decide if you want to go right for the exit or explore every aspect of the area to clear out all the enemies and get more points and perhaps pick up a new weapon as well. And those are the most noteworthy games, again either good or bad, for this second collection. And again, let's take a look at the rest of the games on this in a quick video game montage. again, there are more bad games on this collection than there are good. However, you do get Total Carnage, which I prefer to Smash TV, that was on the first one. You also get Zybots, which was a total revelation for me while playing this. I'd never even heard of it, never mind expected it to be really good. And then of course you also have Championship Sprint, which is, like I said, a map pack for Super Sprint. So both of them are kind of on equal levels in my opinion, although I would probably just about lean to this one because I prefer Total Carnage to Smash TV. Championship Sprint is essentially the same game as Super Sprint, and while I did love Spy Hunter, Zybots just blew me away by how fun it actually ended up being. So definitely a great collection, again just for those games, but for the price that you can get this for, well worth it. And now let's move on to the third and final one in this collection, Midway Arcade Treasures 3. Let's take a look at what games they included on this. Stun Runner, an interesting game that isn't about racing other vehicles but rather trying to complete challenges as best you can. You start basic, having to drive over as many stars as possible, then you gain weapons and must destroy enemy vehicles that get in your way as you try to run over more stars, and then boost pads show up to increase your speed and make things a little more difficult, and then indestructible vehicles show up again to increase the difficulty. And then you even get a shockwave weapon that will take care of those indestructible vehicles. However, you must earn these by passing over a certain amount of stars, so it isn't always an option for you. This is most definitely one of the best games on this collection, which isn't saying much given the rest of the games, but still needs to be acknowledged as a very fun game. Badlands. Remember Super Sprint and Championship Sprint from the first two collections? Well, this is essentially a spiritual successor. Not quite as fun, but I guess decentish enough. However, there are two more games on this collection that are well worth your time over this game, and I'll get to them in a moment. Firstly though, race driving. Remember hard driving from the first collection? Well, this might as well be the exact same bloody game. Same visuals, same controls, same everything. In fact, I didn't even realise this was a sequel. I honestly thought it was the same game with just the same track and a slightly different name. In fact, now I know it's a sequel, I'm still unaware if the first track is any different. What a waste of time including this was. Super Off-Road. Alright, here we go. Badlands is okay for an overhead racing game, as are the Super Sprint games. However, this is the overhead racing game you want. Great racing action on some fun tracks, but it stands above the others in my opinion is the upgrade menu in between races. You get a certain amount of money for coming in either first, second or third, and you can also collect bags of money that appear on the track. And then, after you've finished a race, you can start upgrading. Get more boosts, increase your speed, better tyres for better control, and a few other things too. And like Super Sprint's Championship Edition, which gives you some brand new tracks, Super Off-Road also gets the same treatment here with Super Off-Road Track Pack, giving us 8 brand new tracks. Without a doubt, this game and its old school DLC pack are the main reason to pick up this collection. Well, those are the only noteworthy games in my opinion, again either good or bad on this set. Let's take a look at the other games, all 3 of them, because there are only 8 on this collection, and they're all car games. this really is a pretty pathetic excuse for a collection. There are 8 games on it. 8! And they're all retro racing classics apparently. And just some of them are just so bland and bad, it's unbelievable. Sure, you do get the off-road games and Stun Runner, which is really fun, but and 3 games, I guess, out of 8 being good is better than 3 games out of 20 odd on the other 2. But the fact is, you only get 8 games on here. The hell is all that about? I would much rather play the first 2 collections just because there's more variety in them. I said the first 2 have Super Sprint and Championship Sprint, which are very similar to the Off-Road series, although you get 1 on each, so you get a nice racing game, and then you get the likes of Smash TV and Total Carnage and Spy Hunter and Zybots. So you've got some variety on these 2. This one, just every one of them is some form of vehicle game, racing, destroying things, whatever. And it's a little bit dull for that reason. Not only that, but there's only 8 on it. Seriously, did Midway not have any more car games? Was that all they could muster up? And did they literally run out of other games they could have put on it so it wasn't just a car game collection? I have no idea. So overall, for the most part, there's a bunch of terrible games on these collections. However, each of them do have 3 games I highly recommend. So after that, it all just depends if you like any of the other games on the collections, or if you prefer some of the games on one collection to the other as to which one you might pick up. Personally, I think all in all 3 is good, that way you get all 3 of the great games per collection. You also get special features on each collection. The first 2, you get information about the game, when it was released, a bit of who developed it, how it was developed. There are even a couple of interviews on there, as well as promotional images such as posters and advertisements and things like that, which are okay, not really my thing. However, the bonus features on the 3rd set, keep in mind there are only 8 games on this, so there's plenty of room for bonus material, right? Wrong. Yes, the credits are a bonus feature, and you know what else? A trailer for an Ed, and Eddie game made by Midway. That is a bonus feature. Seriously, what the fuck? So aside from some poor choices in games on the collection and poor bonus features, like I said, I still highly recommend these games. Either if you did grow up during the arcade games and you want to play some great arcade classics, or like me, you never got to play arcade games and you want to finally get the chance to play some. Some of the ones that I said were bad or just unnoteworthy, maybe you like a lot. I know the Gauntlet series people tend to like. Personally, I didn't care for them, but maybe you will. So pick these games up, give them a try and see what you think to them. So, I'm Big Cal, thanks for watching, I'll see you again next time.